I love coffee. Not so much in the way of being a connoisseur or anything even close to it, but more so in the way of simply being addicted to that sweet, sweet caffeine. And when it comes to making coffee at camp, I have tried virtually everything under the sun, from GSI or Snow Peak pour-over sets to French presses and percolators and mocha pots, you name it, I have tried it. And for the longest time now, my go-to has been the Aeropress. This is my Aeropress Go, and you can tell it is pretty well loved. I really like this for a couple of reasons. The first being that in this small package, you get absolutely everything you need to brew coffee. So in addition to the small form factor, what really sold me on the Aeropress is the fact that it's self-cleaning. As you're depressing to release your coffee, when you get to the bottom, all you do is pull the filter out, press the plunger all the way down, out pops your puck of coffee grounds, and then you're ready to pack it up and drink your coffee and move on to your next campsite. It really doesn't get much easier than that. And this is maybe not coffee related at all, but the last reason I really love my Aeropress is because of the inventor, Alan Adler. He also happened to invent Bandit's favorite toy of all time, the Aerobee Frisbee. These Frisbees are great. You can tell this one is also very well loved by Bandit. And I just think that's kind of cool. Again, it has nothing to do with how good the coffee is, but it's got a cool story behind it. So with the Aeropress as my standby, I am sort of always keeping an eye out on cool new ways to make coffee at camp. When I go to an REI, it is my favorite section to browse through. And recently, Outin reached out to me and asked if I wanted to take a look at their Nano coffee brewer. This right here. This is the Outin Nano portable espresso maker, and it's pretty cool. So the Outin Nano is a truly all-in-one portable espresso maker. On the bottom here, you've got a cup to drink it out of, so you know I like that. But the really cool thing is here on the top side. You've got an 80 mil capacity water heater. It heats the water, it extracts the espresso, and it's actually pretty good. And I figured, if I'm gonna look at that, let's take a look at some other portable espresso makers. And that's where I came across the Wacaco Nanopresso portable espresso maker. This also comes with a cup to drink it out of. It's super compact. If I show it side by side with the Nano here, it's much smaller. But that space savings really comes from the fact that this requires hot water to brew your espresso. It doesn't have a built-in battery or water heater the way that the Outin Nano does. So it's more in line with the Aeropress, and those are about the same size. Now at this point, I'm going to take a quick break because if you are a coffee connoisseur, please do not come at me in the comments. I realize that espresso purists out there do not view the Aeropress as a portable espresso maker. It is in this weird in-between zone. Yes, it extracts the coffee with pressure. No, that pressure is not as much as a true espresso extraction. And so that's where the Nanopresso and the Outin Nano both really start to show their differences from the Aeropress. Both of these devices are reaching true espresso extraction pressures. So I realize this is not an apples to apples comparison across devices because sure, the Aeropress is not a true espresso maker, but this is more so for the person who just needs that coffee to get them going in the morning and isn't a purist. And so what I wanted to do today is show you these different devices brewing coffee and let you know what I think about them and if they're worth spending your money on. All right, well, to start us off here, I'm going to brew a cup of Aeropress coffee the way that I normally do. And that starts with some hot water here. I carry this electric kettle with me and it plugs right into my inverter. And I think it's super handy to have. You could of course use a jet boil, something like that, pot of water on your camping stove, what have you, but we're gonna get started with that. And the way I make my Aeropress is backwards from what you're gonna see if you just Google how to use an Aeropress. I had a buddy show me this years ago, and it's become my go-to ever since then. This is the upside down method. So we've got the Aeropress inverted from what you would normally do, and we're filling it from the bottom instead of from the top. So I'm just gonna go in with a scoop of my coffee grounds. Just like that. And then I've got my filter in the filter basket, and I pre-wet it with a little bit of hot water. There we go, our water just hit 195. So what we're gonna do then is come in with just a little bit of water, get those grounds wet, and let them steep for 30 seconds, I think. And then we'll come back in and we'll fill it all the way up. Get our filter secured there. And flip it over. Now we're not pressing immediately. We're still letting it sort of steep and extract a little bit. 30, 60 seconds, whatever you feel like doing really. And now we'll go ahead and press. And so then what you're left with here is almost like a coffee concentrate. It's akin to espresso, not exactly espresso. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of hot water to this and then it's more like drinking a cup of coffee. But just like that, it is so good, so easy. And then my favorite part of this is, yeah, you're done brewing. All you do is pull this off, finish depressing the plunger, and you can see your puck of coffee grounds is just cleanly coming right out of there. And then all you got to do is give that a little rinse and your coffee maker is completely clean. All right, so then let's talk pros and cons of the Aeropress. I think the pros are a couple of things here. The first is price. At I think like 36 bucks on Amazon right now, the Aeropress Go has everything you need to start making coffee at camp. But a con there is you need to bring your own hot water. That shouldn't be a big deal for most of us, as I'm sure we've probably got a way to make hot water. The other biggest pro is convenience. It's easy to set up, it's always going to work right, and it's self-cleaning, which I think is a big selling point here. But on the flip side, the less convenient thing about the Aeropress Go is the need for these filters. There are some washable, reusable stainless steel filters you can buy on Amazon, or you can get a pack of like 1,000 of the paper filters, and they're not that bulky to carry, so it's not a huge deal. But all in all, for under 40 bucks and a decent cup of coffee, I think the Aeropress is still a pretty good bet. All right, so now let's switch gears and talk about the Wacaco Nanopresso. This unit also is going to require hot water, so you're going to need a kettle or a jet boil or something like that. And on the bottom side of the unit here is your water tank. This is also a storage compartment for the spoon for your grounds and a little cleaning brush. And the other cool thing is that on the outside of the water tank is your little espresso cup. So that's kind of nice. They nest, they store really compact. And then on the top side here is your portafilter. This is where your grounds are going to go. You're going to tamp them down in there. All you do is fill it with grounds, tamp them in, set it back, screw the lid back on, fill your water tank, screw your water tank on, flip it upside down, unlock the handle, and then you're going to press. Pressing is what builds up your pressure to extract your espresso here. Now it's going to take about 20 or 30 presses here to fully extract your espresso, and after about the first 5 or 6 presses, you'll start to see something happen. I like that handle stores in the locked position, then you twist it counterclockwise to unlock. This is a really compact unit, but let's see how well it makes coffee. All right. So a nice even scoop of our coffee grounds. The nice thing here is the scoop is multi-purpose. It is your measuring cup, it's your scoop, and it's your tamper. We gotta make sure the rim is really clean here so that we can get a good seal. Put that back in. Screw the lid on really tight here. And now we need our water hot again. All right, now that we've got our water hot, we can go ahead and fill up our water tank. There's a line right inside of there that you fill it right up to. Let's screw that back on. Pull our cup off. And now we flip and depress. Well, now that looks like a cup of espresso. Look at that crema on top. So here's the thing. I think something like the Wacaco Nanopresso definitely comes with its pros and cons too. If what you're after is a good portable cup of espresso, it's a really nice cup of coffee. However, I felt like it took me an awful lot of steps to get there. I don't know if it's just me, but I felt like I was twisting and flipping and rotating and jumping through all of these hoops to get to it. It was also advertised as taking about 20 pumps to extract a cup of espresso. In fact, it took me closer to 40. So I was sitting here pressing for a pretty long time. And as you're building up pressure, it's not the easiest thing. You could kind of do it one-handed, but it's a thumb workout for sure. And then I think the other thing to take into account here is cleaning. So as I pull this portafilter off, you can see we're gonna have really three things to rinse. We've got to rinse off the cap, clean out where our grounds go, and then we're gonna have to rinse the unit itself. Now on top of all that, you've got to factor in the price. Right now on Amazon, this is about $70, so about double the price of the Aeropress. And you've really got to ask yourself if that's worth it to you. If you're a coffee purist and really after espresso particularly on the go, then I think you're totally justified. But for me, if it came down to the Aeropress versus the Nanopresso, I'm probably leaning towards the Aeropress at this point, simply because it's half the price, it's easier to clean, and it feels a little bit more forgiving in terms of the setup and how much coffee or how much water you add. So now that I'm wired up off 2 coffees at this point, it's time for us to move on to our third and final challenger, which is the Outin Nano portable espresso maker. And for this one, we can put away the water kettle. All right, well, before we brew with it, let's talk about some specs of the Outin Nano portable espresso maker. This unit comes with a 7,500 milliamp hour battery built in, and that's gonna give you about 5 shots of espresso if you're heating up the water every time, or it's good for over 200 shots of espresso if you're starting with hot water and just using the pump to extract it. The water tank here on top has an 80 milliliter capacity, but they recommend 50 milliliters for pulling a shot of espresso. And the whole thing only weighs 670 grams. It feels pretty durable and robustly made, and I think is extremely comparable to a hydro flask. So if you're planning on taking it on the go, it's gonna fit into a water bottle holder. It's gonna be rugged enough to bounce around in a backpack even, or in one of my cubbies here inside the Troopy. And that's thanks to the good materials that they're using. You've got stainless steel in the water tank. You've got this awesome, pretty thick feeling powder coat on the outside, and it comes in all sorts of colors. But here's what I think the coolest thing is, because you might be asking yourself, well, if it's heating up the water, that feels like it's gonna take a while. They claim, and this is what we're gonna test, that starting with room temperature water, you're pressing the button and in under 200 seconds, you've got a shot of espresso. So what is that? Just over 3 minutes? That's heating the water, that's extracting the shot, and that feels pretty dang quick to me. So let's see if it'll actually do that. Well, similar to the other units here, we've got our cup that we're going to extract into on the bottom, and then we've got our portafilter here. And what we're going to do is unscrew that, and it's this 2-piece, this exterior piece, and then our coffee grounds actually go right in here. So of course it also comes with its own measuring scoop, which doubles as a tamper here. So same rules apply. We'll get ourselves a nice even scoop. And then we're just going to give it a good firm tamp. All right. And then our lid goes on, sits back in there. And then we get it screwed together. Now up top here, they've got nice little laser etched measuring lines in here. So we're gonna do the recommended 50 milliliters of water. And this is just room temp out of my hydro flask. Throw the lid back on and then press and hold for 2 seconds. And that beep and the flashing light means that it's working here. All right, we're 50 seconds in and it just switched from the first marker to the second marker. And in the heating stage, these lights indicate the temperature of the water currently. If you're in a rush and you don't need it to get all the way hot for you, you can override the heating with a single press and it will start extracting immediately at that point. All right, we're on to the third dot at just under 1 minute and 50 seconds. Now, I really am impressed with how quickly it's heating up here, but it's no wonder why with a 7,500 milliamp hour battery. They say you're only getting 5 shots of espresso. They are using a lot of power to heat that water this quickly. All right, and we moved on to our fourth dot. We are almost fully heated. I'd expect extraction to start really at any time right now. Okay. Well, almost exactly at the 200-second mark, we finished brewing our first espresso out of the Outin Nano. Oh, that is actually really nice. I really like that. Now, because I'm not an espresso connoisseur, I don't exactly know what the difference is maybe between this and the Nanopresso might be. They're both supposedly reaching 20 bars of pressure to extract the espresso. For whatever reason though, this one is a lot smoother. This one is more enjoyable to me than the Wacaco Nanopresso one, and that could be on me. Maybe I did something wrong with the tamping or with the water temperature or with the way I was applying pressure with the strokes of that plunger. But this is a really nice cup of espresso. All right, so let's talk about some pros and cons for the Outin Nano portable espresso maker. And for me, there are a few pros that really jump out. The first is the quality of the espresso shot. Compared directly to the Wacaco Nanopresso, I really enjoyed the Outin Nano's espresso a lot more. And this could be on me because the Wacaco was such an involved process that I could have messed it up. Maybe I tamped the grounds wrong, or maybe the water was the wrong temperature, or maybe the way I applied the pressure with the plunger was too fast or too slow. It's really hard to say. But the Outin Nano produced what I thought was a significantly better shot of espresso. And I think the other point here is that it was a one-button press to do it. In direct comparison to the involved complexity of the Wacaco Nano and how much I had to do to extract that shot of espresso, it's a night and day difference for how much effort you're putting in. I think the other thing that really jumps out is just how nice this feels. It really feels like you're paying for quality with this because it is a much more expensive unit. This is $140-ish right now on Amazon, which is about double the price of the Wacaco Nanopresso. But what you're paying for is nearly an all-metal construction with this really nice heavy-duty powder coating on it, stainless steel water tank up there to heat your water up. And I didn't mention it, but this can accommodate either coffee grounds the way I just did it, or also espresso pods, like Nespresso type pods. So it's really a 2-in-1 unit. And again, that's in direct comparison to the almost entirely plastic construction of the Wacaco Nanopresso. So $140 is a lot, but I think you're really paying for quality. And that's not even to mention the fact that you've got a USB-C rechargeable 7,500 milliamp hour battery in here, which if you've ever shopped for batteries know that that alone is not cheap. So really, there's a lot of technology packed into this little guy for the price. And now this is really where it is a personal judgment call. If you are truly after a portable shot of espresso, then it really kicks the Aeropress out of the running, because what we got out of the Aeropress, while I enjoyed it, was nowhere near a true shot of espresso. There's no crema, the flavor profile is completely different. And so sure, that device is only $35, but you're also not really getting real espresso out of it. You're getting something in between an Americano and a French press, I suppose. Now, in the sake of full transparency, I want to be really clear about this. Outin reached out to me directly and offered to send me the Nano Portable Espresso in exchange for including it in a video. The only thing that they got to dictate, though, was that I included it. They didn't get any control over my review, how I put it to the test, or what I end up sharing with you about it. And I think that's really important as a creator for me to be honest about. My goal is really just to equip you with information. And yes, it is nice if you happen to click through on the Amazon links for any of these products that I've shown today. I'll get a small kickback, and that'll help me put some gas in the tank and stay on the road. But my goal here is not to steer you towards buying any specific product. It is to try them out, save you some money so that you don't have to try them out, and help you make a more informed decision. That is what my ethos has been and what my ethos always will be. You can't buy a glowing positive review from me because that erodes my trust with all of you, and it's just not for sale. All right, so here is the results of this test. For a long time now, the Aeropress has been my go-to standby, and I think for the foreseeable future, it's gonna stay that way. It's simply affordable, it's low-tech, which means it's highly reliable, and it's super easy to use and super easy to clean. It's just that unit you can pull out every single day and you know what you're gonna get from it. However, I do feel highly confident saying that the Outin Nano has earned a spot in my kit. It's small and compact enough for me to find it a home in the Troopy, and I can keep it charged up and use it when I need it. I can envision this coming in handy on cold mornings where I don't want to fuss around with the water kettle and getting hot water going. I can fill this up and set it and forget it. Or on those mornings when I'm trying to quickly get out of camp, I can fill this up, turn it on, and go back to breaking down the alu cab or putting things away at camp. And then I've got hot espresso waiting for me as I get to the driver's seat. So I really do see the benefit of having the combination of these two devices, and I can see them working really well together in my daily routine. Thank you so much for being here. Like I mentioned before, if you are in the market for something like the Outin Nano Portable Espresso Maker, or even an Aeropress for your camp coffee needs, if you use those links down below, I will get a small kickback, and it's your support that helps me keep putting gas in the Troopy and keep doing what we're doing, and I really appreciate it. So until next time, get out and explore somewhere.